We are 3rd of July, quarter to 11, running late. We are on our way to here. So, going to meet up with Matthew and Daniel. We're coming up along George Street, coming up to Town Hall. Daniel?
Hey.
Hey, I'm Andrew.
Good.
How you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too. We're going to meet up with Matthew, I think, over here. So we're in here in Town Hall, as you can see. Town Hall. Daniel, I want you to introduce yourself because I've not met you before.
I'm an amateur street photographer. I haven't been taking photos for quite a while, maybe only about 12 months. So just being in the creative industry, I've always had a bit of an interest in the broader part of the industry, including how the image gets to me, how that was captured, etc. So, the last 12 months or so, I've kind of looked at regression in a sense, and thinking, maybe it's about time I learned the other side of the industry. And as we all do, we start off with the camera phones, so travel photography and things like that. It was interesting. When I first started taking pictures on my phone of the travel photography, I was more interested in the architecture and things like that.
Okay.
However, since picking up myself the mirrorless camera, I've actually found street photography to be quite interesting. I had no idea about it when I first started.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
And it's a very interesting subject matter.
Definitely.
I've learned about it because I didn't have the confidence to get out by myself.
No.
I hooked up on...
Look at you now.
I'm happy, being able to collaborate via
That's great.
these photo walks and things like that. Everybody's setting up.
Yeah.
So, it's a great place to start, and that was my introduction to street photography. Coincidentally, just as I started looking out there were one or two groups that seemed to be a little bit more active than others.
In COVID, where everyone's supposed to be locked up.
Well, it was just coming out of COVID, so it was fantastic.
Okay.
We scraped in there.
Gotcha.
But it was fantastic to be able to kind of get out there. The people that I met in that first group, we still go out
that's
today.
Cool. Wow.
We were able to create a WhatsApp group. We understood that we were all kind of, varying levels and whatnot. We said, there's not that many groups out there that you don't have to pay for, etc. So let's create our own group.
Nice.
And ever since that, we've just been pulling in different members, going to different photography groups, Facebook groups. Obviously, the Sydney Street Photographers now has its own chat sessions there, so we're able to pull out individuals that are interested in this kind of field of photography. And we've started somebody who had no confidence at all, that now we're collaborating with like 15 different photographers.
That's so good. That's so good.
Absolutely cool.
That's interesting. So, how long have you been in your industry now?
In my industry, I've been over 20 years.
So you've seen the transition from film to digital. What are you rocking? You got a what's this?
As a Nikon Z6 II. I did start on a very, very old Nikon D70S, which was the old DSLR. I struggled because I didn't have the knowledge of photography, the fundamentals. So I struggled very much with that because the old camera didn't have live view. It's a crutch to get a.
That's good and bad. That's good and bad.
However, just the genera of street photography, a lot of the photographers will run their photos in aperture priority anyway. Just because of the changing light, it's very, very hard to continually shoot on a manual, especially during the time that we are right now. The light is ever changing. Towards the afternoon, the light will extend a little bit more and be a bit more stable. But I think, for the most part, if you can get away with it, I think a lot of people are comfortable shooting in aperture priority. It has to be first and foremost, you have to make sure your subject is illuminated or captured in the light that you want. Everything else can fall away and you get, for the most part, if you're comfortable in post-processing, you can kind of refine that and recapture some of that detail that was once lost.
So I've got to ask, are you doing a whole lot of post-processing?
Unfortunately, yes.
Why unfortunately?
Just because of my industry. My background is in image editing, so I probably process a little bit harder. I have my own photos, so I do also have a freelance business on the side.
Cool.
I don't go so hard with their
if you want, I haven't got a whole lot of followers yet, but
my business is called Affordable Creations. It's not online, it's more of a just, you know, my previous clients that I used to work with and so on and so forth. Only a couple of, you know, a couple of clients and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's a very different, interesting process in comparison to retouching and photo editing for yourself rather than for a customer. I know for myself, I like a certain vibe. You know, I have an Instagram that I try and keep it somewhat consistent. Now that I'm into street photography, you know, I like the dark, kind of contrasty, you know, tones. So yeah, it's a bit of a struggle to kind of sometimes just let it go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a bit of a perfectionist just because of the the industry that I'm in, unfortunately.
Of course.
And
Crazy.
the problem is with the whole Instagram and, you know, color gradings, it's so subjective. It's
definitely,
a lot of people out there, they don't want that overworked result, so they're just happy to have a little contrast here, a little sharpness and move on. Other people like to do that a little bit more of a creative overall concept. They have a story to kind of relay, and that's where it gets a little bit difficult in knowing where to stop. And it's, of course, it's subjective. Many people will see that and go, oh, that's well overworked. Other people will look at that, you know, the less work and say that's just a brilliant image. You know, it's clean, it's pure, it's brilliant.
Did you photograph in film at all?
I didn't photograph.
No, you didn't.
No. Thankfully, I didn't.
That's
Thankfully,
interesting.
I didn't.
Why thankfully?
Well, it's a little bit more of a situation where you really had to know your craft. It's not not like digital these days where you can shoot hundreds and hundreds of photos. And
True.
walk away with 100 photos and only have one that's
That's
good.
so true. That's so true.
So I think anybody who shoots in film or still continues to shoot in film really knows their craft.
Yeah, they
and
do.
You've got to really appreciate it.
Yeah, they do. What I've realised though is because I started in film and then I've moved over to digital, and I've got a film camera still, which I take out occasionally. What I've noticed is the learning curve in digital is so much quicker because you can see the results instantaneously.
Especially like that's why I think it's a crutch having a live view mirrorless camera. Because the learning curve, like you say, is just it's decimated. You know, it's so much simpler for anybody, whether or not they just want to shoot in full auto or
full
get a
manual,
little bit
whatever.
more creative. The instant gratification, you will know by looking at your screen whether or not you have underexposed, overexposed, where your focus points are. It's a very different world to film. Film terrifies me.
It's funny though, because you'll be fine with film because you know what to do with the digital.
Somewhat, yes.
Yeah, but seriously you will, because you'll know, I mean, you won't have the meters and so forth, but with the light meter you know, okay, this is what the exposure needs to be, and based on your experience with the digital, you'll know this ISO, that shutter speed, this aperture, it'll be fine.
Oh look, absolutely. I'm hoping that I've actually just signed on to a digital photography and digital imaging course down at St. Hornsby. So, you know, I'm hoping that that's going to encompass a little bit more of that film as well, so I can get a little bit of exposure to that, seeing as I came to the photography game a little bit late, so I didn't get to shoot on film, but I know that there's going to be much more of that exposure through that kind of course as well, and I'm going to be exposed to all of the different principles that I never got to shoot, because I just went full digital. So
absolutely.
That's going to be exciting.
That's going to be so fun. This is MJ?
That is MJ.
MJ! Hello!
How you doing?
How are you?
So, I don't know how receptive I'll be to standing in front of the camera. Though.
You are going to be standing in front of the camera. All I do is just shoot and then edit later.
What do you want me to say?
Oh, you don't say anything. We're just going to talk. We're just going to wander and talk. I'll ask questions and then it's just going to be...
I look like I have a puppy stuck in my pocket.
Is that right, like that?
Yeah, it looks awkward, but yeah.
It looks awkward?
Yeah.
It doesn't look awkward to me. We'll get used to it. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to get good audio. So be careful what you say from now on.
No profanities.
No profanities, exactly. I can beep, but it's going to take a lot of effort. How long have you been doing street photography?
Street photography for the last 6-7 months.
Oh, 6-7 months?
Yeah, so...
Even like 12 months for you?
Raw fresh.
Raw fresh, and then 6 months for
I've been doing photography 14 years.
14 years?
Just never got interested in street photography.
And were you doing film in the 14 years or
nah, I've had a Nikon D5200.
Okay. And
for the longest
so you guys
amount of
are stuck in the Nikon.
No, he got stuck in Nikon. I switched over to Sony once I came here.
Oh, you're the Sony now?
Yeah, Sony A7 IV. So never considered the ecosystem before.
Never? It's interesting how it happens. So why did you choose the Nikon?
Only because I was comfortable with it after starting out. My first camera was a D70S, Nikon D70S, so it was just familiar to me, the system. So it just made sense to just.
Yeah. And how did you come by the first camera that you got?
It was just random pop luck. Somebody I was working with at the time had done some photography,
Right.
and I knew nothing about digital cameras or anything like that. They may, I can't remember it precisely, but they may have had a Nikon. So I was like, I'll go buy a Nikon.
Okay.
Nikon, Nikon, however you want to say it.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Just by happenstance.
We'll get a new pronunciation going, Nikon or something.
Oh, look, it really doesn't matter which way you pronounce it, but honestly, it was just by happenstance.
That's good.
And it just, familiarising myself with somewhat some of the features and just went, you know what, it makes sense just to upgrade to the next model art.
This is good because I'm a Canon shooter, so Canon, Nikon or Nikon, whatever, Sony. We're going to be able to maybe compare notes on what we think of each.
I think the bigger group in itself that we usually shoot with has a lot more ecosystems.
Oh, really? Yeah?
Oh, gosh.
So there's a guy who shoots on 3 Hasselblads.
Oh, my God.
3, no one.
3?
Yeah. When you're considering buying one, he's got like 3 bodies.
Why not buy 3? Why stuff?
No, I mean, like he has a film version of it. Then he has a 50 megapixel version of it. And then he has a new X2D.
Sorry, Enzo, I wanted to come back to you and ask
sorry.
just around the cameras and your history and things like that. So when did you start in photography? In like proper, not street photography.
I got a camera for my dad, which ended up sitting in a cupboard for almost a year.
Yes.
Then I decided, you know what, never used a camera in my life. I want to try. A lot of mistakes. Started on auto like everyone. Put it on manual, got I think 100 underexposed and overexposed pictures before I realized, oh, that's how the things work. So that was sort of like a self-learning episode for me.
How old were you?
Oh, I was in my 20s.
Yeah, 20s.
I'm 35 right now.
Yeah.
He was 21 when I landed my first job that I got the camera from my dad. So I ended up using it. I still have it.
Wow.
And it still looks like it came out of the packet. I take care of my stuff.
Yeah, good. I do too.
Photography is not a poor man's game. It's really not.
There is a saying, teach your kids photography and they won't have money for alcohol and drugs.
Yep.
That is photography.
I like it.
Wow. It's pretty incredible, isn't it? Like you can get by on bare bones, but
you can.
As you want to expand and branch out,
it's actually come back from being a really expensive hobby.
Funny thing is, when I was changing ecosystems, I still wanted to stick with Nikon. It was at a point where people were becoming a little unhappy with Z systems, because when the Z6 and 7 came out, it almost looked like Z6 was there just to force people to buy Z7.
He doesn't mean it.
No, that's a Z6 too. That's improved.
No.
Sorry, I get distracted easily.
You do it. And I'm so happy that someone out there is producing these adapters and just saying, here, go for it.
Oh,
so good.
Yeah, I think it's a bad move for any brand to really crack down on that. Like, I understand from the brand perspective and a profiteering perspective why they do that.
Sure.
And it's really disappointing to see that. It seems like a bit of a rinse and repeat action of this generally is our meeting spot of town hall, and we do. Whether it be...
Today is actually a lot more active than usual, by the way.
It is.
This time of day as well, I think.
There is a single piece of dust behind my lens, and that is annoying me. It's
you won't see it in the...
No, I don't see it.
I know what you mean, it annoys you. Yeah. I ran into a lady down here in George Street outside the building. Her name's Lan. And Lan has produced these fantastic photos. She showed me some just out of the camera view, and she's too shy to put them on Instagram. And so this is part of the reason I'm doing this is to encourage people to realise, number one, not that many people are going to see your photo, it makes me cruel. Number two, the ones who do are not going to be mean to you. They're going to say, this is a great photo, because they are outstanding, seriously.
The problem is there's a whole community out there who loves photography. They would really appreciate it.
I think it's a bit of a scary world. Nobody wants to be judged negatively. However, you've got to be realistic in the sense of your worst photo is better than somebody's worst photo. So
absolutely.
Stop being super critical of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody's a different level. Like you say, nobody's going to see your photo generally on Instagram anyway, unless you're super fully cracked on the algorithms and things like that. I have no understanding of that whatsoever.
Me too.
But realistically, especially when it comes to editing and things like that, I have a bit of a philosophy saying is like, don't let perfection get in the way of good enough. You know what? It's
spot on.
Stop getting too far into it.
Spot on.
And especially in the world of what we do. Content creators or photographers in any way, especially if your platform is going to, if you're just going to go on the platform Instagram, the way that we consume media these days is very different to how we used to consume it 10 years ago. Everybody is just scrolling.
Yes.
They will see your content, that image that you spent 10 hours working on or 10 hours trying to get, it will be gone in about 3 seconds.
So true.
But there's
don't stress.
So true.
another side to digital photography. They're not more grounded anymore. Like for me, I shoot continuous.
Yeah.
So I can fire like 40 frames before I realize there's only one frame I like of that. And you sort of stop being grounded when it comes to creating that photography. So now I am forcing myself to shoot single frames, and I am forcing myself to shoot in black and white. Unless I see a subject that is moving really rapidly, then of course,
That's interesting. That's
so I swap from single frame to multi depending on the scenario, but I force myself to do black and white. I don't know if you are a person who's used to video games.
Oh yeah.
So remember the scenario where you start playing as a prime character.
Yeah.
You don't have any gear, you don't have any money, nothing as such. And then you come across cheat codes.
Yes.
When you put them in, things become exciting for the next 1 hour.
Yes.
And then you start to get boring because you have everything. So
Correct.
that's the whole thing about photography. Now you have a camera that has a resolution, that has a speed, that has the power.
Yeah.
And then now you're getting disconnected from the art itself.
That's
So you're just slamming away like 40 shots, and I'm like, I use one of that.
39 thrown out. Yeah, that's it. So speaking of which, are you doing aperture priority? What's your settings on the
Fully
camera?
manual.
Fully manual. What a champ.
I'm pushing everybody to go fully manual.
Yeah, I'm going fully manual as well.
There are some parameters I leave as is, like your f-stop. I like that depth of field. So the camera has a tendency to push the auto ISO to that point. I've limited it,
Yeah, sure.
but still during daylight,
Yes.
I cap it at 64 or 100.
Wow.
And then I manage the shutter speed.
And I don't care. Go the grain. Go the grain.
And one of the guys I was shooting with was like, no.
Don't ever
Get
do
off
that.
auto ISO. No, just get off auto ISO because I was using auto ISO.
Yes.
And
Interesting.
you know, I was having a bit of a problem initially with the aperture priority. Everybody was a little bit silhouette, so I went full manual. It's like, just the only thing you're going to control in full manual mode is just your shutter speed.
Yes.
And your aperture. Pick your aperture.
Awesome,
You know,
awesome.
And it's like that's a clever way to really start to break it down for somebody who doesn't have that background technical knowledge.
Yep.
The less things you have to worry about,
Agreed.
is the better. So I think having auto ISO is another. Yes, it could be seen as a crutch, but I think it's a really good stepping stone in the right
must agree.
direction to get full manual
Yeah, definitely.
So the odd part is, I'm not going to say names, there are people who have high-end cameras but doesn't shoot manual, do full auto. That's still fine because the camera to a level judges everything properly.
For sure.
And then there are people who shoot in JPEG and never in RAW.
Yes.
And I've seen people who shot in medium JPEG on full auto on a top tier camera, and I'm like, dude, come on, you know, push yourself a little bit and learn the basics. And then
This
we'll
guy's harsh.
I have a harsh teacher, that's why. You know,
Good.
Andrew.
Yeah.
So we shoot with another guy called Andrew.
That's good.
So he's been shooting for the last 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So he's a hard teacher, man. He
But
was,
if you want to learn and be a master, that's the best way. Is to get smashed by your best friends telling you that's crap.
he will take 100 pictures, and I would say 99 of them he will criticize. There might be one that he actually likes. So
There's a lot to do with you know the old school knowledge about photography and things like that. You know, where almost like your film days, how you had to know the craft is you needed to take into consideration your scene before you take it. Where it's just so easy not to do with a digital camera, where he will, like say another friend of our group will be, they may criticize your photo, but it's like what were you trying to achieve there? You see,
that's great.
this didn't line up, that didn't line up.
That's good.
What could you have done differently to make sure that it was a little bit more story?
If you want to trigger him, the best way to do would be to have improper leading lines. You can be off by a pixel and he will notice. You're like, hey, that's off.
I love it.
Go crop it properly.
That's so
like,
good.
damn, okay.
So what about you guys? Are you paying attention to all that stuff more now? You are?
Trying to.
It's hard, isn't it?
I generally do try and frame shots to a certain extent. If that's my intention, however, with a lot of my photography, I am more about capturing a single subject within a scene. It doesn't necessarily need to have a leading line or thirds. I have a particular style where if I'm trying to capture a person within a scene, I generally try and shoot low and upwards to make the person seem more prominent within the scenery. The story that I try and tell with what I do is almost like isolating myself. It's like the loneliness inside this chaos. You know, there might be a whole bunch of people in the background, but I make sure that the person I'm capturing is the main subject. Whether that be through post-processing and color corrections and things like that, I might darken off the people in the background, so on and so forth. I have the ability to do that. But you tell the story you want to tell. But if you're very focused on the principles of photography and capturing those leading lines and the rules of this, rules of that, then I think that's certainly something you will eventually pay more attention to.
I'd say so too,
There's a crop tool, there's a ruler in post-processing.
Absolutely.
So if it didn't quite get straight in rule, it's all right. You can get it in post.
Which is what people did in film days anyway, and they did the dodging and burning and putting process, so that's what we're doing in the digital world in effect.
Exactly. So again, that's why I just don't let perfection get in the way of good enough.
Good enough.
I'll either get
Love
it
that.
or I will not.
I love that. Perfection's good, but good enough is I can live with this.
Look, digital cameras, you have a lot of leeway in editing.
You do.
So even if you miss your leading line somehow, you could always crop in, cut away until you get the frame that you really want. Plus, this camera shooting on 33 megapixel, I have a lot of way to crop. And if I really need the reach, I can bring it down to 24 megapixel and it gives me a little bit of additional reach. So I know the sensor has the capability. So when I shoot, sometimes I just shoot. And then I look for the leading lines in the pictures when I go into the editing bit. And I don't edit that much.
No.
It's only when it comes to cars that I actually do masking, layers, and just to isolate the car out of the...
Isn't that interesting? Depending on the subject matter.
People I leave alone. I don't touch. I simply don't want to ruin the moment. But if these days I've been shooting a lot more cars. And
that's great.
I see that it's easier and better to just isolate them. So stuff like this.
Oh wow. Yeah, gotcha.
So that front bit was underexposed. So I isolated the car separately. The background I dimmed a little bit to bring out the car into more
so
of a focus.
you bring it out more. Very good. I'd like to get a copy of that one as well.
I'll send you.
Sounds good. So look, are you happy with your photographs, the way you take your photographs now?
I think they can be improved, and hence why I like the style.
Hence why Andrew review.
I'm getting some subtle encouragement to perfect, but I'm also, that's why I'm going to do this photography and digital imaging course. I know where my shortfalls are with my understanding about the photography triangle, your ISO, your aperture, and your shutter speed. I know my knowledge of shutter speeds, that's my weakest point. So hence why I've been really encouraged to shoot a manual to get a better understanding of that.
That's cool.
That's why I want to do the course. This general skill set and see what I can do. Maybe I can be better. Or maybe what I do is good enough. So
do you feel satisfied where you are? Or?
I do.
Cool.
I do. I do get frustrated just like everybody else. We all miss shots. You don't get too upset. I was out with MJ the other week at Manly, shooting on aperture priority. He was getting, as somebody was approaching through some shadows, he was getting some fantastic shots, some detail. I was getting absolute silhouettes. I got frustrated, but you know what?
It's annoying.
It's some you get, some you don't. But overall, I'm happy with achieving what I set out to do in a lot of photography. eventually I'll obviously supply a link to my work.
Yeah, definitely.
And you'll see what I mean about my particular style, about isolating subjects. And, certainly it's something that I will try and endeavour to improve upon. However, it's something I'm quite comfortable with at the moment. I get stuck just like everybody else.
Oh, wait, come here. Where are you going?
It's
That's
a small
Julius.
world. It's another photography guy in our group.
I know. I was waiting for that to happen. I thought this is going to happen. It's got to happen.
Yeah.
And
It's crazy.
that is cool. And MJ, are you happy with your photographic journey right now?
Look, before for me, street was only about people, but nowadays I'm just looking for something to tell a story.
Oh,
So gradually, like I told you, my photos are getting more grounded, less frames.
sure.
Before I used to go home with 1,000 pictures in a memory card.
Yes.
And now I'm going home with, let's say, 200.
Yeah.
I'm trying to cut down on that as well. Maybe
So-
I will take 20 good pictures a day.
Yeah.
That's good for me.
Yeah. Because I get the impression that as photographers, you don't feel like you're there yet. There's always something.
I used to do a lot of long exposures before. I stopped doing that.
Yeah.
And now I started again. So Julius last day,
Yeah.
when he was with me, he asked me how do you do long exposures? So we went inside QBB. There's a section on the 3rd level. If you look down,
Yeah, yeah.
you will see that I don't know what do you call that. That round. I forgot the name.
The escalator? Or
No, not the escalator. Okay, forgot the name of that. So you can actually see all the way down to the ground floor.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a certain symmetry, and you can see all the people walking.
Yes.
So I told him the settings, and I let him shoot for 1.6 seconds. So that just sort of everyone looks like a line.
Yeah, it's blurred.
Yeah, so it blurred out.
Yeah.
And there's a density in the crowd,
Yes.
so you know that there is crowd there.
Yes.
And yeah, he shot a
But
couple
you
of
can't
shots.
pick out its people very easily.
So I showed him a couple of good locations where there's a lot of foot traffic that comes up and down.
Great.
Settings, where to sit, and you can do it handheld.
Yeah.
1.6 seconds is not too much on the camera. So
Yeah.
I taught him that. And people who just come to me and straight up ask me, how do you do long exposures? I ask them, do you know the fundamentals? Because if I tell you the settings, the only thing you will be doing is sitting there everywhere and just doing long exposures day long.
Exactly.
And then it gets boring after a bit.
Yeah.
So learn the fundamentals.
Yeah. It's a common thing across all disciplines, any kind of subject, is to understand the fundamentals, and then you can really make it
that?
work.
I think it's important to know what you want to achieve, but then like in the instance that MJ would supply some settings for you to use, I think it's paramount that whoever's taking those settings down to then experiment and understands I've been given a shutter speed of X.
Yes.
What happens if I
Yeah.
scroll to the left?
Yeah.
Scroll to the right? How does that affect the image? I know myself. Again, because the shutter speed is a part of my photography that I really need to improve upon. I don't do long exposures because I don't have that a good enough understanding.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I know that's something that I'm trying to improve upon.
Yeah,
I think,
nice.
like MJ said,
Yeah.
I can just give you the settings, but you need to know what to do with them as well. And I think that's kind of important to acknowledge.
So look, it's not just photographers who will end up teaching you. I have a coworker who's studying a bachelor's in physics and astrophysics. Sorry.
Sure. Yeah.
So wanted to do Milky Way. Never had an idea on what the settings are.
Wow.
Tried to blindly shoot into the sky, would capture nothing.
Yes.
Looked online, read online, found the proper settings, and then put the settings on, shot, nothing came out. Then I eventually realized, look, there has to be a particular location you have to look at.
That's it.
And she told me, okay, fine, go home, lie down on your grass, close your eyes for a solid 15 seconds,
Yes.
look up into the sky, you will see a little ghostly shape.
Yeah.
So did that, found the location, shot it, got my first shot of the Milky Way.
Cool.
Came out extremely overexposed. Put it in Lightroom, fixed it, but you can actually see the arm.
Good.
So yeah, people who have no relation to photography have been teaching me as well. So
Yeah.
it's always about keeping your ears open.
Absolutely, yeah. Because anyway, it's another subject. But that's very interesting. What you notice, yeah. So, do you ask for permission for for photos to take of people?
In the most circumstances, I don't. I try and take a candid shot. However, I have been experimenting in street portraiture, which I really, really enjoy, actually. So if I do see somebody, I will try and initially take a candid shot of them, so in my particular style, and then to improve my skills, I may flag them down and introduce myself, say, hey, I'm Dan, I'm a street photographer. If you have 2 minutes, I would love to take a photo of you and then take some photos of them and then maybe give them a copy via Instagram or whatever. It's a nice subtle way to get an extra follower maybe. So, you know, some people are not interested, others are flattered. And literally just try not to take up too much of their time. So it's as simple as that. But yeah, it can be scary to approach somebody. By all means, not everybody is approachable.
Absolutely.
But you take it with a grain of salt, you know?
Yeah.
A grain of sand, however they want to say it.
Yeah.
Just move on.
That's it, yeah.
Most people are just interested and intrigued of like, why?
Yeah, what I mean.
What's so important about me? And you're like, because I like your outfit or something like that. The colours, it's phenomenal.
That's great.
So,
very good.
Yeah, happy to walk and just see what jumps out.
Let's see. Let's go for a wander. Alright, I'm going to hang back a little bit.
Absolutely.
Observe. Taking the photo of them?
Of trying to get a long exposure, but it's not stable enough.
Yeah.
Probably need because that's a unstabilized lens.
Oh yes. So how do you feel about taking photos of the
I have a golden rule in photography:
Yes.
no homeless. And if I feel like a person is underage, I generally just avoid it.
Yeah.
It's just a whole world of pain if you don't judge it right.
Yeah.
And if it's kids, I'm taking like, went to Newcastle with a friend, and there was a kid playing on the beach. So he was like running into the sea, and then he was running back up when the waves were sort of washing in. So it was an interesting scene. I clicked a couple of pictures. Then when I told the parents that, hey, I clicked a couple of pictures of your kid, and these are the pictures, I showed them the series of pictures, and they were very happy. So they told me, would you be okay if you send it to me? And I was like, that's absolutely fine. So I sent it all to them. And then I asked them, like, look, I do street photography. Would you be all right if I post it? They were a little hesitant. So I told them, look, I respect it. Then I asked them, do you want me to delete the pictures?
Yeah.
The only copy that remains is on my phone, which I sent it to them. I can delete that. And then I can always delete the one in the camera as well. They told, that's fine. Just make sure that you don't post it anywhere. So there are people who appreciate the art and who let you keep it purely for that appreciation. And then there's another situation where one of our colleagues was taking a picture in a railway tunnel. It was just a homeless person. Like, you can't see him. It's just the foot end of the bag.
Yes.
And then people are just walking by.
Yes.
So the goal of the whole photography was to give them a certain humanity, which most people don't give.
That's right.
And somebody walked up to him. That was somebody random just walked up to him, and I told him, like, that is disrespectful, and started just cussing him. That happens. Other times you stop people in the road and ask them, hey, would you mind if you take pictures of you? And they're very receptive.
Yeah.
And people would see the camera walking across and on taking a picture, they would actually post for you. So good things happen, then there are bad days as well.
So it all depends, doesn't it?
All depends.
So random. Yeah. Interesting. We were talking about the willingness of some people to photograph and unwillingness of some.
Some people are a little hesitant.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, look, I would ask the question, what are you going to use the pictures for?
Yeah. Yeah. So you like the candid shot as well?
Yeah, I would probably remove that person later in Lightroom.
Yeah.
So I'll just isolate the subject later on.
But you'll leave that kind of right?
Yeah. Now, I might adjust it. So usually what I do is go home, crop a little bit up and down, and I will see what lines fit that particular frame.
Gotcha, yeah.
And then I usually check if I leave an extra chunk in there, will it tell a story or will it just distract it? So ultimately the person I would ask would be Andrew. So if I have a picture that I really love, but if it can be perfected a little bit more, I usually ask Andrew, like, hey.
That's a lot of faith you got in him.
Yeah. He's been doing this a lot longer than any of us.
Yeah, very good.
So that group that we have right now, it's extremely condensed to around 12 individuals. Still in the process of learning, some experience. Some are experts in their field. So for me, gear-wise, the person I would contact would be Voy. He has a habit of buying all the vintage lenses. So he gave me Carl Zeiss 45mm f2 lens, autofocus lens, adapted for Sony. That's in my backpack right now.
Nice.
So if I need shots with a lot of solar flare on it, that's the lens I would use.
Yeah.
So gear-wise, I would ask him, because he would always tell which is the better of the series, because he might have one already. Photography techniques-wise, I would always ask Voy and Andrew as well. Both of them are good. Film-wise, I would ask Robbie. He's been shooting film for the longest amount of time.
That's
He
right.
knows.
Yeah, it's interesting. The experience really does count, doesn't it? Yeah, it really does. Wow.
They are good teachers, so criticism from them matters. So even if they rip my photography apart, I know at the end of the day I learned something from them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that humility and that lack of ego is what you really need to actually learn and grow.
That's a good subject as well. The humility side of things is
Yes, because
You can't learn. You can't
I mean, there's something that you can always learn, something technique,
Yeah.
and there might be something that you might stumble into, you might actually love, and you might not be doing it because you're not paying attention.
Yep. Yeah. It's hard to let go of the ego though. It's
That's the hardest part.
the hardest part. I agree. But when you can,
If you carry a $6,000 camera and a $20,000 lens, doesn't make you a good photographer.
I agree.
Unless you actually spend time perfecting your art and then
And you
taking
know-
criticism from people so that you can improve it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's a tough one. Yeah.
it is.
I struggle with that personally. I guess the skilled teachers know how to get past both people's egos and then make it easier. But if you've got the ability to let go of the ego as well, then you might say you learn something.
Here is a weird thing. I work in the hospitality industry where you need to be an extrovert to work. Oh. Not it. I missed it.
Those moments, they come down there quickly.
Yeah, there we go.
Hey, you got him. Nice. I like his helmet.
Where's
Do you
Daniel?
work in the hospitality industry?
Yeah, so I had a habit of not opening up as much to people.
Oh, yeah.
Photography sort of helped me cope up with that. Because street photography, you really need to stop people in the middle of the road. Strangers, you need to make them comfortable enough to take their pictures. And that sort of teaches you on how to deal with 1,000 different characters.
Yeah.
So,
So, you're more of an introvert?
used to be. I used to be an introvert.
So, the camera has brought you out.
The camera has brought out the best in me, I guess.
Exactly.
That's sort of a medicine in a lot of ways, and that helps. Because sometimes people are really happy seeing the artwork you create and you show it to them. They're like, oh God, that looks amazing, can you send it to me? And that makes your day.
Of course. That's the ego, but it's worth it.
And that is the ego, yeah, I mean, it's worth it.
It's so good, it's so good. That's when you're allowed to have the ego.
Yeah.
That's the reward.
He runs away.
He runs away.
Yeah, he runs away.
I chase him down. Dan, you're looking busy there. And you captured some really good shots.
Yeah, you never really know until you get it home. But
You got a feeling you might have some?
yeah, just looking beyond. You know, I don't mind if there's a few people in the background and things like that. I know I can get rid of it.
Yes.
You know, seeing just lines and things appear when people are standing up against a pole or you know,
Yes.
a walkway where they just happen to be walking right down the centre.
Yes.
That's the kind of stuff that is just capturing my eye. Or you
I think it
know,
captures everyone's eye, those ones. They're
it's
great.
just
Great
yeah,
images.
something about the symmetry. Is you know, yeah, realistically just.
Oh, sorry.
Seeing these colours pop against, you know, blues against brick walls, you know, something like that might stand out.
Yeah.
Any kind of contrast would realistically stand out, I think, is what I'm really searching for now.
Why do you, well, I'm assuming you like George Street.
Generally, I actually like this a little bit more at night.
Yes, yes.
You know, especially with my particular editing style,
Yeah.
the fluorescent lights,
Yeah.
the high contrast, the night, the reflective surfaces, especially after a rain or something like that. You know, it just really just brings a nice look.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's a cold night, but it brings this humanity or something.
It really does.
Yeah.
It certainly allows for a little bit more directional light as well, because obviously it's lights everywhere at the moment. But with you know, at night time come the very directional, harsh lights, and I think you can capture some really interesting scenes. People walk through illuminated areas, etc.
So good.
Yeah, it's just a fantastic time to shoot. Generally, this might be a little bit busy for me.
It's a busier day for sure.
It's certainly busier. I tell you, it's a small world. How you doing?
Good to see you.
Likewise. What a small world.
I walk right across there.
Oh, man. Were you staring at us?
How are you, man?
What's up, brother?
Good to see you.
Oh,
Hello.
hey.
I'm Andrew.
Andrew. Man, I'm Davinder.
Davinder.
We keep writing each other love letters.
Oh,
we do.
Different Andrew.
Oh, different
Yeah,
Andrew.
Different one.
Not Mackie. We've just been chatting away the last couple of weeks or so, and just just doing some.
Literally 5 minutes ago, we ran into Julius.
Julius.
And I was going to ask you, like, what's the chances of running into Dave today?
Wow.
I don't understand. You know, I don't understand how this can happen.
This is called Cosmos.
It
Universe that works for you.
really is.
I think it's a YouTube moment. That's what it is. It's a
It is.
YouTube
It
moment.
really is.
So you're a photographer as well, obviously.
I'm learning.
Learning.
I
We're all
have a
learning.
camera.
We're all learning.
I have a camera.
This is Mr. Hasselblad.
Oh, this is Mr. Hasselblad. You got the 3 Hasselblads that you bring with you.
No, just two.
Just 2.
One and a half, as I call it.
One and a half.
half.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and this is what I love about the fact that we all have a similar interest, and we've just been able to kind of collaborate. And it's like Dave was actually. I met him on the very first photo walk he ever did.
Newtown, yeah.
In Newtown? Oh,
Yeah.
one of my favourite places. Yeah. That's good.
Oh, it's a hipster paradise.
Oh,
man.
it's
I
so
love
good.
it.
But the lights and the
Oh,
characters, it's just so
too
good.
good.
So good. Have you got Instagram?
Yeah.
What's your Instagram? And I'll
Planet Unfaced.
Planet Unfazed.
Yeah.
I'll can I share it?
Yeah,
I'll just
Yeah, we'll
with you.
share it
It's
all.
already public.
It's probably
Go for it.
No secrets here.
Alright, that sounds good. I'll put a little thing up there somewhere.
I'll let you guys. We have got a rush.
No worries, dude.
Good to see you,
Yeah,
man.
Likewise.
See you.
Been a while.
Yeah. Take it easy. You've grown a beard.
Yeah. Taking inspiration from you in different areas.
This is so good.
No, not that though.
What a small world.
I know.
tell ya.
This is what happens.
And especially considering our group is only consists of maybe
10
15
people,
photographers.
and you bumped into like 20% of them right now.
Of a city of 5.5 million, that's not too bad.
That's pretty incredible.
This is obviously a hotspot.
Yeah, I think it's certainly a favourite strip to kind of start. Depending because it's always generally got something to offer. But
Yeah. Well, while we're here, we've got a fairly good view of the Sydney Tower.
Absolutely.
I thought, let's get the Instagrams and things happening as well. What's your Instagram?
It is Sir DJ Photography.
Sir DJ Photography. Dot photography.
Yeah. I'm sure I can provide it.
Oh, mine is painting with light.
What is it? Painting with light. Oh, light.
That's quite fancy, isn't it?
Really fancy.
Ooh la la.
I found that the painting with light, that particular name was taken.
Oh.
So substituted A with the number 4.
Oh, that's it.
So like, got it working. It's not
that
working.
works.
It's functional.
Painting for life. Yeah.
Hey man, how are you? Doing alright. Bumping into photographers since we started.
What do you guys do?
Just helping this gentleman with a little documentary that he's doing as well.
So
So,
we're on YouTube.
yeah.
We just wanted to get some Sydney street photographers and interview them. Now we're interviewing Sydney street people.
Okay, there we go.
That's not going to work.
Yeah, sorry.
You are a photographer.
Oh, here.
Alright, what do you got here? What's this?
50 X100.
Oh, all right.
That's digital. That's not digital.
That's digital.
Started off on film,
Oh yeah. Wow. How about that?
and then it got too expensive.
Yeah. This is what's happening now. Everyone got on the bandwagon to get on the film, but then I realised this is one that film. It's really expensive.
Yeah,
So
but it's just,
Instagram?
yeah.
What is it? Tell us.
I don't do a lot of photography anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It took me away from posting my content. I kind of they went to the landscape all the time. So I decided to improve them from there. So I myself to actually bring them into the music.
Okay. So how do people find out about your zines then?
I haven't made any yet.
All right.
I'm a busy guy. But I'm trying to make it happen.
That's good. Well, when you make it happen,
It's not cheap to see a job.
all right, I'll put it down here somewhere.
Let's take care.
Take it easy.
Take care. I know. We get worked on the streets by others, so we tend to turn out to be the most friendliest people you can bump into.
That's true.
It's great when people walk directly at you.
It is awesome when they do that.
Good perspective, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I just like the crowds.
It's kind of interesting. You can still pick out and isolate one person of interest, even when it is so crazy busy like this. There's always something.
Small group. Keep it condensed. It's a lot more harder to organize and meet people, but
Yeah, but you get that knowledge and that sharing of information.
I missed one shot. I got this though, but I wish that post was not above.
Oh wow, yeah. So he saw that he was having this photo.
Some people, if you look at the face, you know that they are okay with it.
Yes.
So you go ahead with it.
Yes.
Some people stop and ask you what are you going to use the photo for. So we just do shoot photography. Some of them we post, some of them we don't.
Yeah.
Nowadays I'm leaning more towards taking pictures of people without their face visible.
Yeah.
So that I will be able to use it without infringing on anyone's privacy. I have the 50mm that I use at night because this starts failing. Even in this light, it will start failing in a minute.
So what's your favorite photograph? Is there a favorite
Couple of them. 35 1.8 is pretty good. It's wide, but it is good enough for portraitures. 50 would be my absolute favorite. 85 is a little too tight for me. And then for flexibility wise, the 70-200. This, for even if it's an f4, it's really good. Oh no, it's too close. Call. Yeah, it's okay. There are shots you miss and there are shots you get. And that's just the way of life.
You have to push me out of the way next time.
No, it's okay. If you shoot with me and Andrew, we both are people with severe ADHD. Like we would just be talking to you for a second and then we would just break away completely and then go. So we understand each other.
Yeah, that's good.
So if we are talking to each other and he just walks away, I'm like, oh, fine.
Not offended, you know what's going on. Yeah. That's funny. So funny.
Oh no. Should they were all in a line with all the yellow bags. I didn't get it. Yeah. There was an interesting shot that I got on an escalator. The escalator in Bondi Junction going up. It's a rather long one. So if it's a crowded day, you'll have people all standing on one side.
That's so funny.
The reflections on the top.
Yes.
And then if you click a picture like from bottom up, it almost looks like the escalator is going down. But when you look at the people, it's going up. There's a little bit of a mind twister.
Yeah, I love that. That's really cool.
There we go.
Looks like we're gonna race.
There we go. Another photographer. Always find photographers.
Absolutely. This has got to be one of the iconic favorite shots I think every photographer can see. This arch right here.
Yeah.
Everyone takes a photo of this. But you can't not, can you?
I can, but then I don't have any subjects as such to frame in it.
No, you have to wait a while for something to come out.
Yeah. Something interesting to come out. Oh, oh, there's actually a portrait shoot going on inside, funnily enough. Straight ahead, it's the girl. I didn't see that happen. As a portrait going on, might as well go along. No, I don't want to say hi to them. I find that that's why if I'm talking to you and if I just veer away,
This is why, yeah.
that's why. I see something and I need it.
That's what makes photographers interesting, you know? Because you think,
They see the world a little differently.
yeah. And you have that mind where you say, this will look good if I do this, and this. Bang, there it is.
Creative minds.
Creative, yeah.
A little hard to get along with sometimes, but creative minds.
Our wives, our girlfriends will tell us this, yeah. But it's fun. You get some good photos?
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
For a few people, it comes with the job description, but quite often I feel like I do rush.
Yes.
I don't shoot in continuous, but
Yes.
I AFC focus mode, and I will that button focus and track and shoot a couple of snaps.
Yeah.
So I'll get the single frames, however, it's not
yeah.
exactly continuous, and it's just like I know there's going to be a couple of missed frames in there, but
We'll capture hopefully one.
and I've got to get. It's always a really rookie mistake, because I've got to get off shooting on the lowest aperture as well, because especially depending on how close you are,
Correct.
you miss the focus all the time.
Yeah,
especially
correct.
if you go street portrait and use 1.8, thinking, oh,
But I know what you mean, because the background blurred out just looks so good.
it does.
I know what you mean.
But if you focus on the wrong part, you're focusing on their clothes instead of their face, it can still bring it back.
Yeah, but I know what
it's
you
a
mean.
bit more
you want it
frustrating.
You want it done right.
You want it crisp.
Yeah.
What is she shooting on? That looks like a giant blocky camera. I don't know what it is. Usually I can say the camera from the model.
I'm going to go have a look.
There we go.
Dan's not afraid.
I can recognize cameras from the lens structure.
Oh, really? I used to be able to, but now it's too many models. I pick it up.
Nah, if I see the lens of the camera, I can usually say. Now I got confused with this Fuji, and I for a second assumed it was a Leica.
Oh, gosh. Really?
So yeah,
Because the cameras for me now, they look too similar.
I can tell them apart. Yeah. Okay, look, Sony's I won't be able to tell apart the models because they all look
Very
the same. So if I look at the A7 and I look at the A1, they look the same.
Yeah.
Body-wise, it's the same. Yeah.
That's my problem. They all look that way to me.
So for me, Sony's have remained constantly the same throughout the model series, the Alpha series. Nikons and Canons, of course, you see that extended battery grip. You know, it's either the R3 or the Z9. Those are the only two models.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny what we get used to in our brains file this information away. Dan took a photo of the photographer, but I think
She was not very happy.
she got started. Yeah.
But that's the thing with photographers. They will jump out of the way thinking you're in the frame.
That's right. No, I want to give to you. Did you get it?
I got her, maybe not as well as I would want.
Yes.
They're obviously doing some sort of portrait show.
Let them meet.
I'm interested, but you got to let them work.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
get your shot, but not be intrusive, if that's the right word.
It is the word.
Yes.
It's the word.
As much as I love it, because I love the fact that I do want to learn poses.
Oh, yes.
So that's something that I haven't experimented much with portraiture, except for the last session where we were flagging people down and taking their photos. I certainly would struggle with the concept of directing a person.
Yes.
And I think that's very important. You almost said, I've seen them online, the little flip book, and you're like, oh, for wedding photographers, I think it's primarily aimed at.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really good point where you can get these, or understand
definitely.
if you want to hide somebody's midriff.
Yeah.
I just went to a couple of hour workshop at a local community college on food and portrait photography, so it was interesting to see some of the initial poses. They had a model there, you turn them, have them look back at you with their body turned. It creates an interesting shape. Experimenting with not just having somebody directly staring at you, but you're telling them, look over here. I think it creates a bit of a wonder with the images if they're not staring directly at you, but just off.
I may have made a rookie mistake.
No battery.
So no, I have the batteries.
Landscape?
Just that in the old backpack, they had these little slots. So charged batteries, I would put it in the slot, and the empty ones I would just leave it loose in the pouch. So I know which is charged and uncharged.
Yeah.
In this one, I don't have that bracket. So I know one of them is dead, and I know one of them should be full.
You don't know which one?
Yeah, this is 60%. Should be enough.
Yeah, but you never know.
I'm not shooting any videos anyway, so videos.
You were doing videos?
No, just for my workplace, we're launching a new line of cocktails.
Okay, yeah.
So to sort of create an excitement and buzz, we film the process of making it, but not the end product itself.
Okay, yeah.
So there is a shot in which there's a pan with oil and curry is boiling in it. It doesn't show what it is going to be made into. There's another shot with some brown liquid being poured into a jug. There's a third shot where these two items are mixed together. So there's no idea given as to what these liquids are or how they're going to be combined together. So that goes into our social media.
Okay.
And that says, hey, launching cocktail menu.
Yeah.
So there's like a line of 5 cocktails that we do for the new menu that we did. And I did videos for 2. The other 3 items we still need to do the batches.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't got around to doing that.
So you're enjoying the videos or making the video? Yeah.
Like this thing shoots at 120 frames, and it is just the best button shoot at 120 frames I've seen. It only shoots at 1080p.
Yeah.
That's a sorry. I'm just going to jump over to this side. I saw something, and I'll see if I can get it. No, it's out of focus.
I hear MJ in the background. No, it's out of focus.
Yeah, see, there's certain
So he's going
certain angles I would like to capture that person over there. However, it's an unfortunate angle for me, so I wouldn't want for it to be. Yes, it could be perceived as an upskirting kind of shot. It's like that's not the intention, but you have to be ever so mindful about the angles that you're capturing and the way that it could be portrayed. Because then you might run into a little bit of an awkward situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think MJ had a safer angle, I should say.
Yeah, I think so, except maybe in focus this time. You got it this time.
I knew that was a better angle because if I stood here and took a picture, that might turn into a little bit of an issue.
That's right. We were just saying.
I'm just thinking, again, this person's obviously busy, they're on the phone, but however, if they weren't on their phone and engaging in conversation, that's an opportunity to potentially walk up and see. I think this is an interesting backdrop, not that I necessarily would want to capture the entirety. I'd probably offer more of a portrait scene for that, but I think, it could be an interesting setting for it. But again, you've got to be mindful of people's time, and they'd be less inclined to take up the opportunity to get a photo taken if you push it and disrupt their conversation.
Let's have an exit session. Falling. I feel like it's falling. Should have bought a tripod. Fantastic to meet you, Dan.
Likewise. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
It's always fun just to talk to new people about the craft.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And there's so much more in the world of photography to talk about, apart from equipment, the technique, the knowledge, the transfer, the people.
Everyone sees it a little differently, so...
What's the one piece of advice that you could give to people who are maybe thinking about coming into street photography or giving it a go?
Shoot manual. Now,
shoot manual?
Be respectful of people.
Yeah, be respectful of people,
I would say people do like smaller cameras.
Yeah.
I use a big one.
Yeah.
But I still do get my frames. But just be respectful of people. Just be respectful of your surroundings. Be aware.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The craft waits for no man.
Feel free to approach people. 7 out of 10 times you're gonna bump into someone who's really nice.
Yes.
And they would agree to get their photos taken.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, you are happy that you get to sort of use the skill set.
Yeah.
And somebody else is happy because, hey, somebody took a good picture of me.
And what advice would you give to people who are considering going into street photography?
It's not as scary as you would think.
Yeah.
A tiny bit of courage goes a long way.
Yep.
I know being a little bit socially anxious, I was never the most the biggest extrovert or anything like that. So I know it was challenging for me. However, almost like MJ touched on, in a general sense, people are very, very approachable.
Yes.
So the biggest tip I would give is please just get out there.
Yeah,
it's not that difficult to do. Don't worry about the type of work and people judging your work. It's all subjective at the end of the day. What one person likes,
totally.
Somebody else won't like, other people will love.
Totally agree.
But with the confidence factor, I think if you're going to be starting and you don't have the confidence to go out independently, try and source some meetup groups, get into a Facebook group, collaborate with others, because you think you're alone, there are many people out there just in the same space as you, waiting for that event that ticks over from being, oh, I can do this. It stops you from just like staying at home, never actually taking up that hobby or interest, because it can be a great experience. You get to make social connections, and from my perspective, it's been a great way to like expand and be able to talk to people a little bit more. So it's not just talking the creative aspect, but it's actually just improving my speaking skills as well.
That's
so,
awesome, isn't that great?
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. So
Wow.
yeah, do it. Just get out there, honestly.
Fantastic, thanks for that. All right, that's going to be wrapping us up. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks so much.
All the best. Bye. All right, that's cool.
Get that back to you. Warm.
It is too. Still going. Yeah, it's good. They only use like a third of the battery power apparently, so that's good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and